Good morning. Assalamu
Good.
alaikum, everyone. How are you? This morning, me and Adil are sitting down and we were just talking about a few things. And in our discussion, um, this very inspirational topic came to within our discussion is about deliberate practice. So, as you know, that we are reading this book, Grit by Angela Duckworth, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. And in this book, she talked about this topic, and also the number of authors, including Malcolm Gladwell, where he talked about the 10K rule. So we thought to record just a quick session and to talk about this. Adil, you want to say something about this?
Yes. I was so While I was reading Grit, I came across this law of deliberate practice chapter, which jives with what Malcolm Gladwell talked in the Outliers, and other writers. Other different writers have written about it before too. But Angela Duckworth really summed it up nice. She also, as you put these 4 points together, she put it together at the end, near the end of the chapter. But it was, I think that I really love the discipline of it. It is something that is a lifelong thing. Sometimes as you can see that people talk about it, that is something that you have to do in order to attain excellence. Sometimes you really have to work at it, keep working at it, but with a certain goal defined. And that was my impression. I was hoping that maybe you and I can discuss these 4 points briefly. I was thinking that maybe the first two bullets you can talk about those, and then I can talk about the last two bullets, and give some idea what this law of deliberate practice is about.
So no, I agree. Before we start in these 4 points, I'd like to talk briefly about this story that was shared about this runner. That person was been running for a number of years, but that person was not finding any improvement. And Angela Duckworth conduct some questions, and one of the finding that she found through her questioning was she was just running without any intention to improve. Um, and this is where this deliberate practice, the law of deliberate practice or the law of intention came. Unless you have an objective, you have an intention to achieve something, the things we do every day may not come out to be, may not produce the results that in the long term that would produce excellence. So I just want to start with that. But the first one is a clearly defined stretch goal is number one, which is
Yep.
very important. So when all when great things happen, they start with a dream. Okay. And one important part of the dream is this stretch goal, because the dream, what dream does is dream dream pushes you outside of the box. The dream pushes you or breaks this mental barrier that where we normally are sitting. And then when we go and stretch ourselves outside of this mental barrier, um, that becomes a big goal. And we've seen this when people um, had a big dream, when people had stretch goals, they produce more. They produce better results.
Yep.
Um, if you think about, for example, Bill Gates had a dream. Okay, quit the law school and start working on Microsoft. Steve Jobs had a dream of a defined goal where he need to go. Okay, and then we know what Apple achieved. So the examples are there's a number of examples where when people define um, their dreams, they have a clear idea that where they need to go, they produce more, they achieve more. And the point number two um, is the full concentration and effort. I think is very interesting point, because for you to achieve something, you have to be very focused. You have to be laser focused in achieving that, and you have to have the full concentration and effort. So unless you're putting your full concentration, you're putting your full effort, and you have the discipline to do it, you have the consistency to do it, you're not going to be able to achieve the result that you're looking for. So that was the point number two. So what do you think about point number 3 and 4, Adil?
So yeah, very good. Summing up of the first 2 points. I don't know how many of you have seen Angela Duckworth's talk on TED Talk on grit. It's one of the most popular and most viewed, along with Brian Stevenson's TED Talks. And in that, I think it's less than 10 minutes or close to it, that talk. But it summed up the whole topic of grit so, in such a well-rounded way. And then she talked about in the book the two key things that in that TED Talk, how they came about were these last 2 points, where she was asked by TED to, why don't you work on this and, present it and do a TED Talk, so people could benefit from it. And then she prepared a TED Talk, and then she presented it to the producer, Juliet Blake, and the TED Talk leader, the guy who started it, Chris Anderson. And she thought that she had a very well-planned TED Talk, put together, and she was going to be able to convey her message effectively. But when she presented it to them as a trial, they, instead of gushing effusively of what a great talk, or how she powerfully and effectively conveyed her points, they found out loopholes in it, and they told her about it. So, for instance, Chris Anderson pointed out that her talk was full of scientific jargon, which does not really connect with people, because her talk would not be seen by these experts, but everyone and anyone who could have access to that, and everyone and anyone has access to it. So, and it kind of, deflated the balloon, that she, pumped up, because she thought that she had a very effective job available. So that immediate and informative feedback was was a key, one of the keys that that kind of herded her toward creating a more effective talk. The other thing is that that when she reflected on those feedback and then worked on it, what she did is that she reflected on those and then fashioned her talk according to how they criticized it, and then she practiced it with her family, her peers, again and again, until the day when she got to the point and then she gave a talk. Then it was something that was received by the whole world as something that they could implement in their life, as well as it was a very entertaining one. She also, in the joke, as the joke goes, she, after the talk, she went to her parents who were among the audience, and then she just strictly prohibited them from raising any criticism. She said the only effusive appreciation of the whole thing. So it was very important, the lessons you learned, that that immediate and informative feedback, but then how well she received it too. But that was one of the main things that I thought was very useful for all of us, that we can implement in our life, instead of taking umbrage at, if somebody criticize your work or criticize, your presentation, let's say, then you try to seek that informative feedback, and then you reflect on it, and then you find ways to then effectively make those refinement in your presentations, in your paper, in your speech, and your whatever the case may be. So those were the 2 points that I thought were very vital to this law of deliberate practice.
Excellent. To sum it up, the law of deliberate practice is about goals plus focused action, and then getting some feedback, and reflect and improve. So goals plus daily action equal achieving your dream. And one of my favorite authors is Zig Ziglar. So one of the best motivational speakers of all time. If you get a chance, listen to Zig. Um, and in Zig talks, one of the things that he talks about is the repetition. And here I selected one of his quotes where he says, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. So this is where I close today. Adil, if you have any closing comments, please go ahead.
No, along the same lines that Zig Ziglar's quotation that you put, I think that one of the overriding factors of grit was, I think her formula was talent times effort equals a skill, and a skill time effort equals achievement, which is, the gist of the whole message. Is the same thing as Zig Ziglar said. And if you look at it, all these people who have been able to achieve great things in life, they followed pretty much the same discipline. They may have different goals, but the discipline was the key that I noticed, in their journey. So that's, I think that, that is a very common, it's a common denominator.
Great. So thank you, Adil, and thank you everyone for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.